7 ways the regressive left got Trump elected. Hey, it's Prince of Queens, and at the risk of sounding like I think I was always right about everything since the dawn of time, I just want to say that I really did see the current conservative backlash coming for years, simply based on all of the overly confident and downright bigoted regressive leftist, fourth wave intersectional feminist people in my social sphere that I often once called my friends. You see, these people were fucking idiots the entire time, and each and every one of them deserves every fit of literally shaking or bouts of crying and depression that they will go through during the next 4 years. I don't wish them to be harmed by themselves or others, but I really have no sympathy for their emotional state at the moment because not only did they ask for this super flagrantly, but I tried to stop them from begging for this backlash, and they told me to go to hell. Shut up, you're fucking a white male. That's what they said over and over, as if I, as a white man, clearly have no clue about what makes white men angry. And those angry white men did ultimately get Trump elected. And here's how and why they became so angry. The first way the regressive leftists got Trump elected was by refusing to have conversations with people they maybe disagreed with, in favor of bigoted ad hominem attacks towards them. We all saw it happen. How many times on social media did somebody use your name and profile photo as an excuse to dismiss your opinion over the past 4 years? Probably more than once, right? How many times did you bother to write out a thoughtful paragraph or two on Facebook that you would still agree with to this day, only to have somebody accuse you of white-splaining or mansplaining? How many friends have you lost because they started being relentlessly hateful towards white men, or men entirely, or white people entirely, and when you told them that you weren't cool with this bigotry, they acted like you were the one with the problem? How many times did you attempt to make a solid argument just for the sake of the discussion, only to be met with somebody saying, "It's not my job to educate you," or simply replying with the word "no," as a condescending way of not even responding at all? Like, as if they didn't even have to respond. They just get to say, "no," and they're just going to be right forever. Well, they're fucking wrong now. How many times did people essentially demand that you agree with them simply because of their identity, only for you to realize that not everybody of that specific identity actually agrees with that person? So it is literally impossible to meet the demands that these people make of agreeing with every person of their identity because they don't all agree with each other. How many times did these things happen? People on the left stopped being able to have conversations. This made it super easy for people who didn't agree with them to have conversations. The right started having a lot more intelligent conversations than the left did for the past 4 years. They had a lot of conversations. The second way the regressive left, fourth wave intersectional feminist social justice warrior movement powered Trump's rise was by creating the social media block wall, which I have an entire video about. Again, I cannot count all of the people who blocked me on social media after deciding that I was racist for such controversial opinions as thinking that white people should be allowed to style their hair however they like, including in dreadlocks, or thinking that there are certain female privileges that exist. Oh, good God. Oh, women and children first? He thinks that that's a privilege? Block him. The block wall was and is almost entirely an invention of the left because there are several articles that came out on sites like the Huffington Post where they were actively encouraging readers to unfriend or block their supposedly racist friends or family on social media. So you know it came from the left. Ultimately, that ended up powering the right because the right not only became more tolerant in terms of having honest discussions, but also was able to discuss without anybody from the left usually even being able to see or hear what they were saying. The right could still read the same blogs that the left was, but the left refused to even listen to the arguments of the right. So ultimately, the right benefited from this divide because they basically were able to strategize in a hidden chamber. November, while the left was completely visible to them. The third way the regressive left powered the rise of Trump was by being so ridiculously dishonest about Islam, Islamic extremism, Islamic governments, and the ways in which the Islamic populations often start behaving in Western countries once there is a significant amount of Islamic people living in them. This is not something that I know a whole lot about, so you should check out Sam Harris on the subject. One of the points he always made was that if the left doesn't deal with the problems coming from radical Islam, or whatever you want to call it, they are handing political power over to the right, because the right has no problem being tough on Islam. The fourth way they handed this election to Trump was with such a ridiculously racist, supposedly anti-racist narrative. Around 2012, it generally stopped being enough to simply just not be a racist person. Instead, they started trying to demand much more than that. In order to be considered not racist this decade amongst so much of the left, you had to either hate white people entirely, or if you were white, you had to admit that white people are what is wrong with the entire world, and you have to feel ever shameful about your own white skin. Obviously, that's gonna put off more white people than it pleases, and plenty of not white people hate that bullshit too. The fifth way the regressive left powered the rise of Trump was obviously just feminism itself. I talk about feminism a ton in my other videos, but feminism has basically always been severely anti-science since feminist theories really started to develop in the second wave. Even just patriarchy theory is an inherently unprovable conspiracy theory that is obviously widely inaccurate, and feminists teach it like creationism. They also teach that gender is entirely a social construct, and some even say that there is no such thing as biological sex. It's madness. They also started hating gay men, saying gay men aren't an oppressed minority, and basically trying to get all men to stop being men, starting with gay men, of course. Anybody with any common sense can see that this is bullshit. I have no idea why they tried to win an election with this as the primary code of conduct. Number 6 in the ways that the regressive left got Trump elected is related mainly to feminism, which is the Gamergate controversy. If you don't know much about it, you really should look into it because it's a very interesting story. I've written a full-length screenplay about it. If you're a producer, hit me up. Basically, the left was a bunch of fools to ever think they could bring their moral censoring attempts to the video game industry and have any sort of positive effect, to the point where I imagine that some puppet master knew that this was going to happen the entire time, but encouraged them to do it anyway because they knew attacking the video game industry would simply blow up in the left's face. It's the biggest profit industry in entertainment, and it's full of relatively intelligent people who are extremely competitive, who don't really care if you think they are good, moral people or not. Attacking them for what they do in their dens and basements was never a good idea, and the left paid the price. The seventh and final way that the regressive left put Trump into office was by fighting super hard to have Clinton run against him. Let's be honest, we can all admit at this point that Sanders was robbed for the nomination. For a while, I was convinced that Hillary Clinton legitimately never even wanted to be president herself, but now I think maybe she was just a useful idiot, and George Soros knew she was a uniquely awful candidate that would lose anyway. Maybe Soros and Trump are actually friends. Who really knows? Maybe Soros knew Clinton was convinced that she would be president someday, so he put her in the race only to have her lose spectacularly. Clinton wouldn't even come close to speaking honestly about Islam. She usually just repeatedly said, "Vote for me because feminism," and she had basically everything wrong with her as a candidate, from the email scandals, her health, her dodgy voting history on things like the Iraq War and gay marriage, and everything else you can imagine. I am truly not convinced that this election went anything besides what was completely according to plan, and it is entirely the fault of the gullible left-wing idiots who perpetuated every one of these regressive ideas. Drop me a comment and stay tuned.